Because the reason I ask is that I anecdotally hear Muslims leaving this department because of this administration's perceived hostility towards the Muslim community or the LGBTQ community leaving.
We have not seen much of a difference. I know I've looked at the gender issues, but we do keep an eye on that to make sure that if there's anything that goes wrong. Again, it's trying to understand what the barrier.
Welcome back, everyone. Today, we're diving into a striking moment from a committee hearing that exposes the clash between performative politics and real leadership. In this clip, Representative Ilhan Omar, known for her bold presence in the so-called squad, launches into a pointed line of questioning aimed at State Department and USAID officials. Built on the shaky premise that the previous administration was inherently harmful to women simply because it didn't match her stance on family planning. Right away, it's clear this isn't a genuine search for answers. It's a setup for a viral gotcha moment. But watch closely, because as the hearing unfolds, seasoned career professionals respond with calm authority, fact-driven clarity, and unshakable composure, systematically dismantling her argument and revealing how performance falls short of leadership. Stick around as we break down why this exchange collapses under scrutiny and what it teaches us about the power of thoughtful, serious governance versus political theater.
I wanted to chat a little bit with you, Mr. Nutt. One of USAID's publicly stated missions is that the promotion of greater economic opportunities for women throughout the world. But in reality, the work that this administration has done and some of the policies that it's pushing for has been detrimental to women's prosperity and empowerment in a whole host of ways. There's a wealth of academic research showing us that gains in women's education and employment can be attributed to increasing access to contraceptions. That access has given millions of women control over their future and better enable them to participate in workforce and contribute both to local and global economies. And so I'm wondering if you can tell us how the policy priority that we have in our mission makes sense in regards to the proposed cuts to family planning that your department is putting forth.
I have not been briefed on that particular matter at this point. I know the administration, the administrators has been pushing an initiative to push out the implementation and the programs of USAID down to the more local level and to the betterment of people in country. But I can't speak to your immediate question, but I can take that question for the record.
Wonderful. Ms. Leavitt, did you have a?
As my colleague has answered, we'll gladly follow up with many details for that, details that will demonstrate the breadth and extent of our basic education programs and higher education programs around the world and how in many cases they prioritize access to education to girls, to young women, how we advance entrepreneurial types of programs, economic livelihood types of programs in support of girls and women. So we have a wealth of programs that help advance.
No, that's well and dandy. My question was investment in family planning and the opportunities to have access to contraceptions and how we know that that there is so much research that backs that gives families the ability to have advancement when the girls and the women in the family have an ability to earn an education and enter the workforce.
And we look forward to following up with you with a detailed follow-up.
Wonderful. Ambassador, I wanted to follow up with Mr. Liu's questions earlier in diversity in hiring, promotion, and retention. You'd mentioned earlier that you wanted to take a broad definition of diversity, and I wanted to see who's included within that definition. Are we including people with disabilities? Okay. Is that a yes?
I'm sorry, Congresswoman. Yes, that is
okay.
Yes.
Does that include the LGBT community?
Yes, it does.
Does it include religious minorities?
Religious minorities are protected under the Civil Rights Code, so yes.
And are we currently collecting that data for these categories?
So the data collection is done on a volunteer basis, which has always been one of the struggles. People have to self-identify, and we do not, I believe, collect on all this. I will have to get back to you, Congresswoman, because I'm not sure about some.
Yeah. Do you think
categories.
it's helpful for us to collect this data? Does that inform us in some sort of way to make sure that we are able to diversify and promote and retain people?
I think sometimes it would. For example, I chair the committee that looks at assignments to principal officer positions and deputy chief of mission positions. And one of the things we look at is diversity. Are we making sure that we have the most diverse slate of candidates for every position? Now, 12 people sit on the committee. These are senior level jobs. We tend to know a lot of people. We're not that big. So sometimes we know somebody's diverse, but then it may show up on their profile because they've opted not to do that. So we've left it up to the individual. I think sometimes that could hurt the statistics, of course. Yeah. And sometimes it's just someone at the table who says, listen, I know that this candidate is a diverse candidate. But we do not have something in place. I'm sort of on the fence. I don't want to necessarily push somebody, but yes, does it hurt people sometimes? And obviously we don't have a really accurate record.
No, I appreciate that, and I hope that we're able to look at it, because the reason I ask is that I anecdotally hear Muslims leaving this department because of this administration's perceived hostility towards the Muslim community or the LGBTQ community, leaving because of that perceived hostility. And so I want to make sure that we have the relevant data in regards to retention, and see if there are ways that we can make sure that we're dealing with that as we go forth.
And those that you mentioned are some of the most difficult because it's not so obvious. And so I think that's also an issue. What I would say more generally is that our attrition rates are not very high.
Yeah.
And they are trending on historical levels. So for our entry level, I'm talking foreign service now, that's civil service,
right.
It is 2%. At the mid levels is about 4%. Where you see the spike is when you get to the senior levels, but you have people that age out. We have a system, it's an up and out system, so they have time in class limitations, time in service limitations. We have not seen much of a difference. I know I've looked at the gender issues, but we do keep an eye on that to make sure that if there's anything that goes wrong. Again, it's trying to understand what the barriers are and making the workforce aware of inclusion. As I said, I think once you're in the door, then I think the inclusion is so important.
Yeah.
So to making sure that people are aware of what they do and their actions and how that affects inclusion.
Right. I appreciate that, and I hope we will have a follow-up conversation on this, because I think it's important for us to have clear protections put in place for religious minorities and other vulnerable communities, so that they are able to fully participate in every single department within this administration. And I hope that we are able to have the opportunity for us to get the answers that to the questions I'd asked in regards to family planning and how that feeds into the broader mission of your department. Thank you.
There's so much to unpack in this hearing, so let's break it down. When Mr. Levitt from USAID tried to explain how the administration empowers women through education, entrepreneurship, and real skills for building careers, Representative Omar cut him off dismissively with, "That's all well and dandy," brushing aside tangible programs that actually work because they didn't fit her narrow agenda, proving she wasn't interested in real solutions. Then, when she pivoted to Ambassador Perez and started listing identity groups in an attempt to bait him into admitting discrimination, Perez calmly clarified that civil rights protections apply to everyone, and participation in data collection is voluntary. Freedom, not bias. The moment her narrative truly collapsed came when she claimed a mass exodus from the State Department, only for Perez to counter with concrete numbers. Just 2% attrition for entry-level staff and 4% for mid-level, shattering the chaos she was trying to fabricate. This hearing perfectly illustrates what happens when ideology meets reality. Omar arrived with a pre-written story of a hostile administration, but the witnesses brought facts, professionalism, and data. And in the end, reality won. Comment below if you think the officials held their ground, or if Omar's push had merit, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more hard-hitting DC breakdowns.